We're going to talk today about how to approach goal setting, particularly if you haven't done it before or you haven't done it recently. It can be really overwhelming. So we want to introduce some frameworks to you to help facilitate this process, get the juices flowing so that we don't get stuck in a state of overwhelm or some analysis paralysis. Frameworks are really useful to help navigate our thinking, to organize our thinking, and to put something down on a piece of paper, and then we can iterate it. So in terms of the framework I'm going to introduce to you today, there's two key concepts. We've got a vertical axis and a horizontal axis. We want to think about things in terms of different timelines. When we think about our futures, everything is not necessarily going to be in the next 12 months. We're going to have goals, and it's really important to have diversity of timeframes when we look at these goals. So we've broken it down into 4 different elements here, and that is the now. Really, now is the very, very short term. These things that are imminent. So that might be in the next 12 months, in the next 24 months, maybe in the next 3 years. The things that are potentially already on the cards for you, the things you've been discussing, you've been researching, these things that you're really excited about and you're pushing really hard to achieve. Then we think about what the short term is. That really is looking at that 3 to 10 year timeline. I know 10 years may not seem particularly short term, but I'm sure you've experienced in the last few years as well, how quickly time can tick over. So like I said, short term goals are things that are in that 3 to 10 year timeline. Then beyond that, potentially that 10 to maybe 30 years, that's our medium term. That could be things that, you've got the idea of, but it's not really pressing for you right now, or you might just have the seed planted and you want to develop it over time. Realistically, in terms of your working life and your ability to earn money and contribute towards these goals, these are pre-retirement goals. Then the final timeline is that post-retirement. So that's really looking at probably 60, 65, 70 plus up until you pass away. So that could be, for this generation, that could feasibly be 20, 30 years in itself, maybe even 40 or 50. So we can think about timelines differently and make sure our goals are spread and are diverse across these different timelines. If we find that we naturally have them all jumped up into one area, it's a really good prompt to say, all right, I can't actually do everything in the next 12 months. Some of these things are going to get pushed down the page, and it can be a really good prompt to reorganize our thinking. Then, as I said, we're going to think about a horizontal axis, and this is when we start to consider how important our goals are. What do they mean for our life? Now, I'm guessing that you've probably come across Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the past. This is a really interesting way to think about what goes on in our life and how important it is to us. At a basic level, we need air, we need food, we need water. Once we have those really, really fundamental needs taken care of, we can start to think about things like security, shelter. Once we are comfortable with our basic standard of living, we can pursue more comfortable elements, things like a sense of relationships, love, community, contribution, accomplishment. We know from psychological studies that if we don't have our basics taken care of, there is no point going after those comfortable areas, because love, accomplishment, community, it's really hard to feel a connection with that if you're worried about your ability to put food in your mouth. And so we can actually use this framework to think about our goals. So if I share my screen with you now, we can see that we can overlay both the different timelines and the different levels of priority. So at a basic level, when we think about our goals, it may be financially, we need to have cash saved up. We need to have a buffer. We need to make sure we don't have any crappy debt. We want to ensure our plan B is really robust. We've got really good insurances. We're fortunate in Australia that we have a really good social welfare system as well. So that really alleviates a lot of the pressure on our basic needs financially. But we do want to be self-sufficient as well. We don't necessarily want to be reliant on the system. Then when we think about our comfortable lifestyle, this is often quite a lot of the key elements you have going on in your life right now. They're the things that you want to maintain going forward, or potentially even dial up. So it's not just having a roof over your head, but it's having a roof in an area you want to live. It's having a house that potentially is comfortable, whether you're renting it or you've purchased it, that gives yourself, your partner, your children a place to run around, to live in a way that is really intentional and aligned to your values. It may be things like travel, education, starting your own business, getting married, It might be, look, it could be anything. It really is dependent on you and what's really important to you. Then if we go right across the page to our dream lifestyle, this standard of living is the things that we love to strive for. And often the dream lifestyle, it may be things that, previously you'd thought about were actually a retirement goal. It may be a dream goal, to put it the same thing, but in the short term or in the medium term. These are the areas in our life that, like I said, we want to strive for, but if we don't get there, we're still going to be really happy. So it may be the difference between, say, comfortable goal, maybe 6 weeks of travel each year, 4 weeks of travel, 2 weeks of travel. A dream goal might be double that, or doing the same travel, but, baller style. Maybe you've got some business class flights in there. So we can start to see, it's not necessarily, I want to buy a helicopter. It's saying, like, how can I potentially dial up the goals that I've already set, or perhaps do them faster? So let me share some examples here. So as I said, at a basic level, it may be like, let's get out of debt. Let's make sure I've got that emergency money to really cover any immediate or unforeseen expenses. Over time, I want to build that up even more, and really fast forward down the track. I'd love to not even have a mortgage at all. At a comfortable level, I want to travel. I want to start a family. I want to buy a really nice house for myself. I want to send my kids to a nice school, and I want to know that I can retire, but also continue to travel. And you can start to see, particularly in that long-term goal category, it's actually the same goal pretty much, but it's just dialing it up along the way. So have a go at this. This is a framework. We're not going to get it perfect the first time around. And these things will also change over time. As I'm sure you're aware, setting goals the first time, you're not going to want to commit to setting out the rest of your life today. We do not want to lock it in stone. But we can use this as a way to start thinking about things. We can start putting our financial mechanisms in place so that we've got a running start at this. We're not coming at it from a standing start. This means that we can align our financial strategies, our assets, our debts, our protection needs to these goals. And it's a really, really positive place for us to be coming at from. So good luck. Let us know if you have any questions. And super exciting that you're going on this journey with us.